Okay, the next texture that I'm going to offer is the serpentine or snake around the pole. And you do multiple together. This is just one of them. So I'm going to make some more. And you start out by making equal signs. Super easy, I know, right? So I got 2 equal signs right there. Let me get closer so you can see what I mean. Equal sign, equal sign. Make a chain of equal signs. You can see the size of them compared to my thumb. For your first couple, don't try turning. You can just go straight. I'm going to stop right here so I can show you the next step. Although you probably want to start making chains that go longer. And you can see how I'm turning. You don't have to turn. You could do yours straight. Okay? So you can do more to fill in more space. The next step is on the first equal sign, you're going to make an arc out of the top one. On the second equal sign, you make an arc down at the bottom. So they look like D's. Okay? Letter D, letter D. Now, you got to alternate. Top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom. I'm going to finish this. You can pause it and do that too. Okay, so you can see I've also done a few over here because to make a pattern, you have to have multiple chains of these. So you can see I alternated top, bottom, and when I curved, top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom. Okay, the next step is on the first line right here where I started, you draw a line straight down like that. So it almost looks like a P right there. Then you make a line parallel to that. And I'm going to draw, you don't have to put a dot. It just helps so you know where you're going. You're going to arc over the top to that dot. Then you come down here. And you're going to go to here. And you're going to make an arc at the bottom. And it goes alongside the D. Then here to here. See where I'm going to go? From here to here, over the top. Then I come down here. Now what you could do is just do all the tops and come back and do all the bottoms later. Why don't you do that and we'll meet again. So you can see I went over all the D's on the top, and now I'm going to go under the D's at the bottom. From the right side of one equal side sign to the left of the other. From the right to the left, under the D, under the D, under the D. Why don't you stop it and finish? Okay, the next step is this serpentine or snake goes over the long tube first. Then it'll go under. So what you're going to do is right here on the second one is you're going to make connections that go horizontal. Then don't go horizontal here. You're going to go vertical, and you got to make 2 of them. 1, 2. Then you go horizontal, but you got to do 2. 1, 2. Then you got to go vertical. 1, 2. Then you got a horizontal. 1, 2. Vertical. 1, 2. You got to alternate. If you keep doing verticals, then they won't go under behind. We want it to be weaving around. Across, then up, down. You got to do 2 of them though. So if I just did an up, down, you guessed I'm going to go across. And I'm holding my paper up. That's why my line was just kind of crappy. Then I got to alternate. If you don't alternate, it's not right. Okay, I'm going to do another row for you. One that's going straight. So, on the first one, you're going to drop a line straight down. You can see how it hangs down here. Okay, see, looks like a letter P. Then you make a parallel line. See how it's parallel right here? Then I'm putting a little dot so you can see where I'm going to draw a line too. Right here, where my pen is. And I arc over into the dot. And I can do that on the top for all of them. Now I got to go on the bottom. Okay. All right, now comes the tricky part. So you have the first one is up, down. So the next one is going to be going across. You got to do 2 of them. Then you're going to go up and down. Then you got to go across. And if you don't alternate, up, down, then across. Up, down, then across. Up, down, then across. Up, down, then across. Now, when you draw, you got to make sure that your eyeballs can see what you're doing. So if your hand is in your way, turn your paper so that you can see where you're starting and where you need to go to. If you can't see where you're starting and where you're going to, you got a problem. Then we have to work on our shading. First step is on the tube that goes a long ways, you add shading wherever the serpentine or snake goes over it. Okay. Then on the snake, wherever it goes under the bar, you shade the snake or the serpentine. To serpentine means to loop and go in such a fashion. A serpent is like a snake, so serpentine means to loop around, to go back and forth in such a way. All right, and what's key about this texture is one chain does not make a pattern. You got to do multiple chains to start making a pattern. And I will go ahead and do that so you can see what it looks like. I'm going to turn the camera off. Okay, so you can see I've started to fill in the page to make a texture. And you can see how I changed directions. I got a hint for that. When you change directions, turn your page. That way you only have to learn how to do this going in one direction. But if you make a turn, you can see how I turn the page so that I can go D on the top, D on the bottom, D on the top, D on the bottom. See how I'm turning the page? So that I can keep doing that D on the top, D on the bottom, so I can always have an up and a down be the same. And then I can connect, connect, connect. And this might take some practice. No, let me correct that. This does take practice, so that you can be proficient at it in multiple directions. But remember to alternate, going across, up, down, across. Then what's next? Up, down. So I turn, so I can do up, down. So it goes up, down. Now I got to go across. Now, what happens if you do two acrosses in a row? Does the world end? No. So you can see I went across, across. Well, hey, probably in the grand scheme of the whole pattern, this one place doesn't matter. Now, these are finished shading. I haven't finished these. So you can also make them really small to make a cool texture in between. And when they're super small, you might not have to do the shading. across. What's next? Up, down. Cross, across. Oh, there is no up, down because it goes underneath. So, the next step is we will add watercolor over this, but you want to have a couple different textures before we worry about color.